Hello, everyone. I'm Hazel Avalos, and I'm a student at Grand Canyon University in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. I'm currently pursuing my bachelor's degree in behavioral health science. This presentation is for my cultural and social diversity in behavioral health course with my instructor, Dr. April Johnson Dumas. In this presentation, I will examine two cases of discrimination in the United States, one involving LGBTQ plus individuals, and another involving people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. For each, I will describe what happened in its long-term outcome, how these groups may experience prejudice in behavioral health settings, and what this means for how future professionals are trained to provide ethical, equitable, and culturally responsive care. Why does discrimination matter in behavioral health? Well, discrimination matters here because experiences of exclusion and unequal treatment create real emotional and psychological stress, such as isolation, anxiety, depression, and mistrust towards healthcare systems. Behavioral health professionals regularly work with people who have faced barriers tied to identity, disability, gender, or sexuality. So understanding those experiences is essential to delivering care that's respectful, ethical, and culturally responsive. I'll focus on two populations: LGBTQ plus individuals and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Together, they show how discrimination happens both through personal interactions and through larger systems and policies. My first example is discrimination against LGBTQ plus individuals, especially transgender and non-binary people. Recent reporting show many continue to face unequal treatment in healthcare, employment, housing, and public services. Healthcare discrimination is especially damaging because people may delay seeking support out of fear of judgment or mistreatment, and finding providers who understand gender affirming care can be difficult. In behavioral health settings, this can surface as heightened anxiety, depression, trauma symptoms, or difficulty trusting a provider. A client may walk in already expecting rejection. Providers can lower those barriers by creating welcoming environments, using inclusive language, respecting names and pronouns, and continue their education so clients can feel safe enough to fully engage in treatment. The long-term picture shows both progress and ongoing challenges. Greater awareness has pushed many organizations to invest in LGBTQ plus culturally competency and inclusive practices, but discrimination hasn't really disappeared. Some individuals still avoid care because they anticipate negative experiences, which delays early intervention. The lesson for providers is that trust must be earned. A client's hesitation may reflect past stigma rather than resistance to treatment. Real improvement requires more than individual effort. Agencies need inclusive intake forms, staff training, and protective policies. My second example involves people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. In 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice found that Utah violated the Americans with Disability Act by unnecessarily segregating individuals with disabilities from integrated community opportunities by placing them in separate employment and day programs instead of supporting participation in the broader community. This kind of discrimination is harder to see because it operates through systems and service structure rather than open hostility. In behavioral health, it can appear when providers underestimate a client's ability or fail to offer accommodations. The response is disability-informed care that centers strengths, autonomy, accessibility, and individual preference, and that includes clients in decisions about their own goals. The long-term outcome has been increased attention to disability rights and community inclusion. The Americans with Disabilities Act established that people with disabilities deserve equal access to employment, services, and community life. And the Department of Justice findings reinforce that services should support independence and personal choice rather than separation. Behavioral health professionals can advance this through person-centered approaches by asking clients what they want to achieve instead of assuming their limits, and accounting for accessibility and communication needs. Inclusion benefits clients and makes the whole system more respectful and effective. When it comes to experiences in behavioral health settings, both groups can face prejudice within behavioral health environments when providers aren't trained for their needs. LGBTQ plus clients may be harmed by dismissed identities, using incorrect language, or a lack of understanding of minority stress. Clients with disabilities may face inaccessible services, missing accommodations, or assumptions that they can't participate in their own care. The antidote is cultural humility, recognizing personal bias, listening to clients, and adapting to individual needs. In practice, that means using preferred names and pronouns, providing accessible materials, arranging interpreters when needed, and seeking extra training for unfamiliar populations. It takes both individual awareness and organizational commitment to accomplish this. These cases show why multicultural diversity and social justice education are essential to behavioral health training. Mental health is shaped by social experience, including discrimination, so future professionals need to understand both interpersonal bias and systemic discrimination. Training should build practical skills such as inclusive communication, accessibility awareness, advocacy, and culturally responsive treatment training, while helping providers examine their own assumptions and keep developing through their careers. The goal isn't just awareness, it's meaningful action that creates therapeutic environments where every client feels respected, understood, and also supported. I'd like to conclude this presentation by emphasizing the importance of how discrimination against LGBTQ plus individuals and people with disabilities have a very lasting effects on mental health and access to care. By practicing cultural humility, providing affirming and accessible services, and committing to strong training, behavioral health professionals can reduce bias and support equitable care for every client. Thank you so much for listening, and this concludes my presentation.